The Earth is no different. At first, it was just another notification, a powerful earthquake. Most people glanced at the headline, paused for a second, and carried on with their day. After all, earthquakes happen all the time. Then, another alert appeared, another powerful earthquake, a different location, a different fault, a different story, or so it seemed. Then another. Within hours, newsrooms across the world were publishing update after update. Maps began filling with red circles. Emergency alerts spread across phones. Social media exploded with theories. And millions of people, many of whom had never thought much about earthquakes before, began asking the exact same question. Was this just an extraordinary coincidence? Or was something happening beneath our feet? For a brief moment, the internet seemed to agree on one thing. This didn't feel normal. Some claimed the Earth was entering a new phase. Others believed one earthquake had somehow triggered another on the opposite side of the planet. The theories spread faster than the facts. But here's the strange thing. History tells us this isn't the first time humanity has looked at a series of natural disasters and wondered if the planet was trying to tell us something. Thousands of years ago, people believed earthquakes were messages from angry gods. Entire civilizations thought mountains shook because enormous creatures lived beneath the earth. Others believed the end of the world would begin with the ground splitting open beneath their feet. Today, our explanations have changed, but the feeling hasn't. When the ground moves, certainty disappears. Because earthquakes don't announce themselves. There are no warning sirens, no countdown, no flashing lights across the sky. 1 second, life is completely ordinary. People are making breakfast, driving to work, laughing with friends, putting their children to bed. The next, the floor begins to move. Walls tremble, lights swing overhead, and for a few unforgettable seconds, nothing feels solid anymore. That's what makes earthquakes different from almost every other natural disaster. They arrive without permission, without warning, and they remind us of something we rarely think about. The ground beneath our feet isn't as still as it feels. Right now, as you're listening to this, the earth beneath you is moving. Not enough to notice, not enough to spill your coffee, but it's moving. Every second, every minute, every hour. The planet is constantly changing beneath the surface. Most of the time, it does so in complete silence, until one day, it doesn't. That's when headlines appear, questions begin, rumors spread, and somewhere between the facts and the fear, a mystery is born. That's exactly what happened with the recent earthquakes. People weren't just asking where they happened. They wanted to know why they seemed to happen so close together. Was the Earth somehow connected in ways we didn't understand? Could one powerful earthquake trigger another thousands of miles away? Or was our own brain connecting dots that were never connected in the first place? Those questions deserve better than guesses. They deserve evidence, because the truth is far more fascinating than the rumors. So for this investigation, we're setting aside the viral posts, the dramatic headlines, and the online speculation. Instead, we're going to examine the clues the Earth left behind. We'll follow the science, we'll question our assumptions, and by the end of this investigation, you'll understand why a few moments of shaking captured the attention of the entire world, and why the real story is even more extraordinary than the one spreading across the internet. Every mystery leaves clues. The Earth is no different. Let's begin the investigation. The first clue wasn't the size of the earthquakes. It was their location. When detectives investigate a crime, they don't begin by asking who did it. They begin by asking where it happened. Seismologists investigate earthquakes the same way. Every earthquake leaves behind evidence, not fingerprints, but fault lines, not eyewitnesses, but seismic waves, not suspects, but stress locked deep within the Earth's crust. To understand whether these earthquakes were connected, scientists had to ignore the noise and follow the evidence. Imagine standing high above our planet. From space, Earth looks calm, peaceful, almost perfect. But beneath that thin outer shell, our planet is anything but still. The continents we live on aren't sitting on one giant piece of solid rock. They're riding on enormous tectonic plates. Some are moving toward each other, some are pulling apart, others are sliding past one another. They never stop moving. Not while you sleep, not while cities grow, not while generations come and go. They're moving, right now, slowly, almost as fast as your fingernails grow. So slowly that an entire lifetime can pass without anyone noticing. But pressure has one remarkable characteristic. It doesn't disappear, it builds. Picture yourself bending a thick branch. At first, nothing happens. You bend it a little farther, still nothing. The branch doesn't warn you, it doesn't crack. It simply stores more and more tension until suddenly it snaps. The break feels instant, but the forces that caused it had been building for a very long time. Earthquakes work in much the same way. For years, sometimes decades, sometimes even centuries, stress quietly builds along faults beneath our feet. Cities expand above them, roads are paved, children are born, entire lives unfold, while the earth patiently stores energy below. Then, in a matter of seconds, that stored energy is released. The earthquake doesn't begin the story, it ends it. That's an important distinction, because when people saw several powerful earthquakes appearing on maps within a short period of time, many assumed the earthquakes themselves were communicating with one another. But scientists asked a different question. Was each fault already nearing its breaking point, long before anyone received a notification on their phone? To answer that, they examined every detail. The depth of each earthquake, the direction the rocks moved, the shape of the faults, the speed of the seismic waves, even tiny differences that most of us would never notice. Every detail became another clue. And that's when something fascinating emerged. At first glance, the earthquakes appeared to tell one story, but beneath the surface, they were telling several different ones. The earthquakes in different regions did not all occur on the same fault system. They were not part of one enormous crack racing around the planet. Instead, each earthquake reflected the unique geology of the place where it occurred. Different faults, different stresses, different histories. But there was one exception, one detail that immediately caught scientists' attention. In Venezuela, two powerful earthquakes struck just 39 seconds apart. Not hours, not days, 39 seconds. For a moment, it seemed to support everything people feared. Surely, that couldn't be a coincidence. Or could it? That question would become one of the most important clues in the entire investigation. Because if those two earthquakes were connected, what exactly connected them? And if they weren't, why did they happen so close together? The answer reveals something extraordinary about the hidden forces shaping our planet. But it also destroys one of the biggest earthquake myths on the internet. That's where our investigation leads next. 39 seconds. That's all that separated the two powerful earthquakes in Venezuela. Less than a minute, long enough for millions of people to wonder whether the Earth had just set off a chain reaction. But what did scientists see when they looked beyond the headlines? The first clue came from timing. 39 seconds is an incredibly short gap in geological terms. When earthquakes occur that close together and within the same fault system, scientists investigate whether one event may have transferred stress to a nearby section of the fault, helping trigger the next rupture. Think of a line of dominoes. The first domino doesn't create the second. It simply gives it the final push it was already waiting for. That idea is known as stress transfer. Not magic, not a global chain reaction, just physics. It doesn't happen with every earthquake, but under the right conditions, it can happen. That's why scientists believe the two Venezuelan earthquakes were likely related to each other. Not because the Earth suddenly changed, not because every fault around the world woke up at once, but because those two events occurred in the same geological neighborhood, where the release of stress from one rupture may have influenced another fault that was already close to failure. And that's an important distinction, because the internet often asks the wrong question. People ask, can one earthquake trigger another? The better question is, which earthquake, on which fault, under what conditions? Those details change everything. As for the earthquakes happening elsewhere around the world, the evidence points in a different direction. Different fault systems, different tectonic settings, different histories. Their timing captured our attention, but timing alone is not proof of a global connection. Sometimes patterns are real. Sometimes our brains create them because we're searching for meaning in random events. Scientists know this. That's why they test ideas against evidence, even when the evidence challenges the most exciting story. And in this case, the evidence tells us something even more remarkable. The Earth doesn't need a worldwide chain reaction to be extraordinary. Our planet is already alive with movement. Every single day, every single hour, deep beneath oceans, beneath forests, beneath deserts, and beneath the cities we call home, tectonic plates continue their slow, silent journey. Most of that movement will never make the news. Most of it will pass unnoticed, until one day, somewhere, the pressure that's been building for years finally reaches its limit. Not because the Earth is angry, not because it's sending us a message, but because that's how a restless planet works. The recent earthquakes reminded millions of us that the ground beneath our feet isn't fixed. It's constantly changing, quietly, patiently, one movement at a time. Every mystery leaves clues. The Earth is no different. I'm glad you joined me for this investigation. If you enjoy exploring the hidden forces that shape our planet, subscribe to Insane Geofacts, because our next mystery is already waiting beneath our feet.